Hey guys, this is Joe McMurray with Fret Buzz. Last time I started a series of lessons talking about jazz improvisation using bebop scales. In the first lesson, we talked about ascending and descending from the root of each of those scales. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen it already before you do this lesson. However, just a little review. The dominant bebop scale uses the root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, and you're back to the root. The C, or any major bebop scale, is a root 2, 3, 4, 5, flat 6, natural 6, major 7th, and you're back to the root. So over the 2 and the 5 chords, that's in the key of C major, that's a D minor 7 to a G dominant 7. Over both of those chords, we're going to focus on ascending and descending from the third of the G dominant bebop scale, which is G, A, B. So I'll show you that. I'll descend here from the 7th fret of the high E string. That's B, A, then you're to the root G. That's root, major 7th, flat 7th, major 6th, 5th, 4th, major 3rd, 2nd. Well, I went too far, but so you can also ascend. Okay, over the C major 7th chord, the 1 chord, we're gonna ascend and descend from the 3rd, so C, D, E. So from the 5th fret of the B string, we're going to descend here. Or you can ascend from this one. So keep in mind that you can do this all over the fretboard. The G dominant bebop scale, instead of, you can do it up here. Or here, there's plenty of places you can do it. For the C major bebop scale, you don't have to do it here. You can do it here. Or anywhere else. But it's good to start in one place on the fretboard and get used to that and actually start playing some jazz before you worry about learning the scales all over the place. So I'm going to give you some examples over a 2-5-1, D minor 7, G dominant 7, C major 7. So I have a loop made using my Trio Plus band creator and looper. It's an awesome pedal. I think everybody should have a looping pedal to practice over. Doesn't matter what it is, but something that you can practice this on your own time without having to do it in front of your bandmates. So the first example I've got, I'm going to descend the scales over each chord. So I'm going to descend the G dominant bebop scale over both the 2 and the 5 chords, and then I'm going to descend the C major bebop scale from the 3rd over the C major 7 chord, the 1 chord. So it'll look like this. So over the loop, okay, so that one, it is a little awkward making that big jump. I probably wouldn't actually do that in an actual jazz solo. However, it's great to practice it because you really need to get these scales under your fingers before you can learn how to manipulate them and veer away from playing straight up and down the scales. So now we're going to just ascend each scale from the 3rd over the chords. So from the B, we're going to go down here. So over the loop, from the B, I'll do that again. So that one's, it's even more awkward than the first. But now we're going to start mixing it up and making it less awkward and more musical. So we're going to descend the G dominant bebop scale from the third, from the B, over the 2 chord, and then we're going to pivot and ascend that same scale over the G dominant 7, the 5 chord, and then we're going to descend the C major bebop scale from the third. So it looks like this. Pivot. So over the loop. Okay, that one felt better. So now let's do almost the same thing, but we're going to ascend the G dominant bebop scale from the third over the 2 chord, then pivot and descend it over the 5 chord, and then we're going to once again descend the C major bebop scale over the 1 chord. So it looks like this. Pivot. Okay, so over the loop, ascend, pivot, okay, so next we're going to, let's see, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to ascend the G dominant bebop scale over the 2 chord, I'm going to descend it over the 5 chord, and then I'm going to actually go low and ascend the C major bebop scale from the third over the 1 chord. So it'll look like this. Okay, so here it is over the loop. Ascend. Pivot and descend. Again. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing in the beginning, but then I'm going to actually enclose the C, so I'm going to ascend, pivot, descend, then I'm going to jump to the B here, I'm on a D, and that way I can start the C major bebop scale on the C and descend that over the 1 chord. Again. A little enclosure is important because otherwise you wouldn't start the scale on the right note. You would have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you'd have to hit that C again. So it makes it line up a lot better. Okay, here we go over the loop. Enclose. You can land on other notes. Third. Landing on the 5th. Enclose. Landing on the 7th. Landing on that B. So now, let's do almost the same thing, but we're going to enclose the C, and we're going to then ascend the C major bebop scale from the root C over the 1 chord. So it'll be like this. Pivot and descend. close. You can land on the C or the E or the G or the B. So let's do that over the loop. 2, 3, 4. In close. Landing on the root. Pivot and descend. In close. Landing on the third. Landing on the fifth there. So that time, in order to land on the B, I actually jumped to the C and enclosed it. I ascended it like this. Then instead of going to the B and hitting it twice, which you could do, C, B, works really well. So now I'm going to descend the two octaves of the G dominant bebop scale over the 2 and the 5 chords, and then enclose the C and ascend the C major bebop scale from the root. So from the B up here, the 3rd of the G dominant bebop scale. Now, in order to get to the C, I have to enclose it. That's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And again, you could land that. You could land it on any other chord tone, C, E, G, or B. So let's do that over the loop. 3, 4. In close. C. Let's do it again. It's landing on the E, the lower one. It's landing on the high E that time. Just hitting the. I could have enclosed that when I was. I could have done. That would have been like what I did earlier. But you can do anything you want. You can land on different notes that give it a little different flavor. So now let's actually ascend 2 octaves of the G dominant bebop scale from the 3rd, from the B, and then we're going to descend the C major bebop scale from the 3rd, from the E. So we're going to do. That's the E there, but let's do that over the loop. From the B here. Again. And you can land on different notes if you want. Let's do one more example. When we get to the top, we're going to ascend 2 octaves of the G dominant bebop scale from the 3rd, the B. When we get to the top, we're going to jump up to the C and the high C, and we're going to descend it. Now we have to skip the note here, so we're going to ascend from the B, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we can't hit the B here, we got to jump to the C. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, or you can land on any other chord tone. So let's do that over the loop. 2, 3, 4. these are all just ideas to get you thinking. The point is that eventually you'll be able to make up your own lines on the spot while you're improvising. That is the definition of improvising. But to take them, you got to really practice these scales methodically so that they can come out naturally in new and creative ways while you're soloing. So it's great working with you today, and I'll see you in the next lesson.